Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I have Ojas Batra. So, Ojas is a serial entrepreneur, marketer, public speaker, and an author. So, thank you, Ojas, for being here. It's my pleasure to have you. Thank you very much. It's wonderful having you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So, before starting about anything, speaking about anything, if you could, speak about yourself, what you do, all about yourself. It's really inspiring. When I was reading about you, it was wonderful. If you could tell about and what you do, it's going to be great.
Sure. So currently, I am the founder and CEO of Hive Group of Companies and Adventures. So Adventures is my marketing agency, and Hive Group of Companies. We have multiple companies working under it. The two major companies under that is like Teen Hive and Skill Hive. So Teen Hive works with teenagers just to try to expand them and try to make like try to teach them exponential skills and basically get them ready for the world because school doesn't do that. So we
Hmm.
basically work with teenagers and make them exponential teenagers. So teaching them skills like money management, time management, sales, and how do they find their ikigai, how do they roadmap their own career, understanding about mental health and things like that. That's what we do with Teen Hive. And if I talk about Skill Hive is basically a skill identification and training institute. So example, if you get an individual and he wants to know what's meant for him, because
Hmm.
for me personally, it took me around 3 years to identify that because it's all a process of trial and error. So I wanted to figure out a way where we can speed this process up. So to do that, what I did was that if someone walks in, we basically take them through. We give them an option of like 20 to 25 skills, and we are continuously expanding on that. And they can choose around 10 to 15 of them, and we also suggest them those 10 to 15 by taking a psychometric test. And once we finalize those, we provide them with like a month of training where they go through 1 to 2 hours of each skill
Okay.
just to get an overview upon it and understand how the industry works for that particular skill. For example, it can be digital marketing, it can be web development, it can be AI, ML,
Mm-hmm.
it can even be game development. So you don't have a limit on how expanded the skill is. And then they can choose three out of them because I still believe even after trial and error for a month, there's still some scope. So
Mm-hmm.
we help them, like our mentors help them choose three major skills out of those around 10 to 15 out of their choice. And on those three skills, they can basically go one by one
Mm-hmm.
through the full course. And for example, digital marketing course ranges from 3 to 5 months, and game development would go up to a year. So they can go through these courses and understand and not just learn these skills but implement them as well, and
Okay.
through assignments and through projects, so that they also understand how, if they are ready to work as, for example, a game developer or as a digital marketer, if it is really meant for them or not. So
Okay.
that's what Scale Hive does.
Okay. Okay. Great. So I can just stay. Think. Is would be it right if I say it's like an education institute or something like that?
Sure, yeah, both of them are edutech startups.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. What was the starting phase of the company? First of all, if you could take us to that part of things starting out, how do you think of how did you even have that mind of starting something that big at that big level? It's totally a different concept about reading, understanding, and having a skill, developing a skill. What was your idea when you began that?
Okay, so these ideas of training teenagers and training any individual out there for them to go through and basically pass the hurdles that me or any other entrepreneur or any other person who's trying to pursue something and understand what's meant for them would
Mhm.
go through. How can I make these hurdles easier for them?
Okay.
How can I help them? How can I help any individual to go through that process uh, in a faster way,
Okay.
but still get it done the right way? Because
Hmm.
what happens is world is about exploration,
Yeah.
but when you have a guide to explore a place, it becomes 10 times better. So that was the idea behind it. And even since my first startup, so I my first startup was never uh, there for money. It was always there. So my first startup started around 2 years ago. That was called Parallax Tech. That got acquired in less than a year. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the point of that startup was just to help again school students learn these skills,
Okay.
learn digital marketing, web development, because I had to leave school for that. I didn't have the opportunity for someone to come to my school and then tell me, okay, here's a course on digital marketing. It's very budget friendly. Your parents can afford it. Your school is going to endorse it. If you want, go through it. Let's see if
Mm.
you can learn something which would really be implementable and practical in the real world. So that was the idea behind my first startup as well, and that's what I'm trying to maintain here as well, but just with a lot more experience and expertise,
Mm.
and in the right structure.
Okay, but what was the starting phase? Because hiring a team and getting
Yeah,
people who could be
yeah,
mentors, and even if I pay you or don't pay you, people
yeah.
have to like it. There should be reason to like
Sure.
it or love it, to watch it and to learn something from it. So what was the
Yeah.
starting phase of hiring mentors and collaborating, speaking with them, bringing them on the team, and what was that happening? How?
Okay, so for Teen Hive, we did try the process of mentorships. So something that I believe in is that every teenager in this world needs that attention. They
Mm.
can't really work in a batch of 50. That's not
Okay.
something that can be done. But again, if we start one-on-one mentorship, that means we have to charge them a lot,
Yeah.
because it's the same amount of time. It's just that the amount gets divided into 10 or 50 students. But now we
Mm.
cannot do that. So we did experiment with that. So Teen have started, yeah, mid-November last year, around
Okay.
this time only.
Okay.
So when we started for till March, we were based out of Delhi itself,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a learning space. We had an offline learning space where I hired mentors, and the main goal was that I used to train them, because I believe only a teenager can really understand a teenager. So
Yeah.
I was the one who used to train them, and to explain how the teenage brain works. This is something that I've written about in my book as well. So, but the struggles that we had was, first of all, it was a very high ticket course. Not everyone can afford it,
Okay.
and that just goes out of my that like that just contradicts my ideology,
Okay.
because I believe it should be to certain extent feasible for almost everyone,
Mm.
till a point that I push it to a point wherever I can. Maybe that we have not even reached there yet. Maybe that there's a long way to get there as well. But so the mentorship used to range from 40,000 rupees to 1,50,000 rupees, and that's not something which is affordable for a lot of parents and students. So now we have, and I consider COVID as something that really helped us analyze that as well,
Yeah.
when we shifted to online classes
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one. And now we've made the decision of going 100% online, uh,
Okay.
going through a three-level process.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have done is we have a level one workshop.
Okay.
That's a 5-day workshop, and
Mm-hmm.
that's only for 500 rupees. So
Okay.
anyone can really afford it and understand some, like, out of the whole list of skills that I teach, there are two or three which are very, very important for a teenager
Mm.
in their life, or for any
Mm-hmm.
individual, not
Okay.
just teenagers.
Okay.
It's just that if you learn them at an early age, they really support you later in life. So those we basically teach them in that 5-day workshop. Through We have like five pre-recorded videos plus assignments and PDFs plus doubt clearing sessions, live classes. So, and that's just for 500 rupees. We don't really. I believe that if I can break it down to the least amount of, like, the price, that's better for the company itself and for our mission as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then so we basically, it's a three-level structure, as I told you. Second level is again, so what we have done now is that you can either pick between a pre-recorded course, which will be on our platform, or you can pick between a batch of 10. Now the batch of 10 will be taken by only me and one other mentor, because it was really a struggle to find mentors. Because what I believe in, this might offend some people, but what I seriously believe in is that most teachers in life become teachers because they have failed at something else.
Mm. Okay.
Because teaching is, like, these mentors, if they really want to teach students how to build a company, they would need to build a company themselves first.
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And finding these mentors is not easy. If someone has built their own company, why would they teach students? and
True.
do a job.
True.
So I was only able to find one such mentor who is currently in partnership with us. He's not an employee, just a partner. Plus, I'm of course there. So what we have done is that we have divided into either a pre-recorded course or a batch of 10. So
Hmm.
only 10 students. That's all we take, and it would be live. It would be either with me or him. So that's how we structure that. And level three is one-on-one mentorship, but that we only suggest after you've gone through pre-recorded course and you have spent 6 months implementing everything that you learned in the level two stage.
Okay. Okay.
So that's
Okay.
how T9 works. If we talk about the hiring process, as I told you, the major issue that I faced was hiring mentors. But I had to make the decision of skipping that process because if I believe the responsibility that a teacher has is very high because you are basically playing with someone's future, with someone's
Yeah.
ideology. They will
Yeah.
build opinions on what you teach them,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and I cannot mess that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but as far as the other hiring procedure, hiring marketers, hiring sales guys, that was pretty much easy for me because I have built multiple companies in my life. I worked for a lot of startups. I worked for more than 10 startups and corporates in the past, and I was into e-commerce for a very long time. So when you are running e-commerce stores who do like revenues till $1 million as well, you already have a team.
Yeah.
So hiring people in marketing, sales, HR was not that difficult. That was kind of a swift process. But mentors is where I struggled,
Hmm. Okay.
and it was replicated for Skill Hive as well. Mentors is where we still struggle. We're still trying to figure out a way where we can get that done because we need. I really want that if someone's teaching digital marketing, they really know digital marketing and have been in the industry for at least 5 years. Otherwise, it would make sense.
Yeah.
Same thing for each like every other skill.
Okay, okay. It's really interesting to hear about your story and what you think. It's really wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that. You doing that at a wonderful age. It's great. So coming to that, I was reading an article in Asian Chronicles. I think I don't really
Yeah,
remember the
yeah.
name. So there was a line where there was a kind of it was said that you dropped out at school at 10.
Mhm.
You started the company. What was your family's when you say I just don't want to
Response.
read, I want to drop out, what was your family's response? How did they react to it? Were they chill about it? Or they know how and why? Like, what was the reaction or what was there? What they were telling you and thinking about?
Hmm. Okay, so first thing that I would just like to make a bit clear was that I never dropped out of school to learn to like make a company, to start
Okay.
a company. It
Okay.
was never the objective. Because as a 10-year-old, I didn't even know how startups work.
Yeah.
I might not even know what startups are. The only objective was that I am in school, I'm learning these particular subjects
Okay.
that don't make sense to me
Mm-hmm.
and have zero practical implementation 10 years from now.
Yeah.
So let's just learn something which has real implementation in the future. I didn't
Okay.
even know trial and error is a thing, I might fail. Failure was not even something that I had in my mind. So that was the aim to leave school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I talk about my parents' response, of course they were skeptical, and that's their right
Yeah.
because they are worried about every parent is worried about their own child.
Yeah.
So they were skeptical that okay, you're saying that you want to do something that not a lot of people do. It's very uncommon, and you're basically going to break a system that is followed by almost everyone around.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I seriously believe something, and that's what. So in TNAV as well, we really focus on effective communication
Okay.
because learning English, there are hundreds of institutes that can teach you that. But communicating effectively and getting your message across is something that is not easily taught.
Yeah.
So that's what I believe. That is something that plays a role in every conversation with the parents. It's always a deal. I
Mm-hmm.
look at it as a deal always. For example, if you want to buy a computer, you wouldn't tell your parents I want to play games on this computer. You tell them I want to study.
Yeah.
You will give them intensive so that they benefit and you benefit. That's
Sure.
what the deal is.
Yeah.
Now, I made a deal with my parents then that 3 years I would still give my exams. So I still give my exams till date. I don't attend school, but I still give my exams. So I made a deal with them that Give me 3 years. I will still give my exams. I will still study on my own and just give exams. For 3 years, I will experiment with other things. If after 3 years you believe that things are not going the right way, I would not even question your decision and go back to school.
Yeah.
That was the deal. And happily, that moment never happened where they had to think about me going back to school. But yeah, that was the deal. That's how I structured it. I even made like a 60-slide presentation to explain to them what my future plans are and how these 3 years are to go by.
Yeah, okay, okay. And then you were speaking about the part that your parents said you that this is a system which everybody follows and nobody has broken it or done something different from it. So just one question regarding that, that when you were speaking to people and telling about your startup and about your idea, so weren't there people who were spectacle and were saying, oh ये तो बच्चा ये क्या करेगा हमको बताएगा क्या करना है कैसे करना है.
Yeah,
Didn't you get that thing when you were
very
doing?
common.
Yeah.
It was very common. So, for my first startup, in less than a year, I hired and fired more than 50 employees because of
Okay.
that one reason. Because most of the employees wanted to run my company for me
Okay.
because they might have had ego issues or something in their mind that okay, is seriously a 14-year-old going to give us instructions on what to do,
Yeah.
and we are going to take that as MBAs. So that's something that was a very big challenge, but I believe they're also not wrong.
Hmm.
If they have not seen this is not very common to them, that's not wrong.
Wrong. Yeah.
Because and that's not just they were not just employees. I went to a lot of investors with my first startup. It's a different thing that these investors approach me today, but still they rejected me. They were like, "How much do you want? Do your parents like parents pocket money nahi de rahe?
Yeah.
We'll call them to give you enough pocket money." And they basically made a joke out of that because I didn't have credibility then, like a lot of it. Today, and that's very common. That's not just for me, or of course, when you are doing this at a particular age where people expect something else from you, credibility plays a very important role. But even at any age, even for a 26, 27-year-old, if they go to an investor and tell him that okay, this is a startup, this is a product, we have zero revenue, invest in us. The investor would also say, show me some credibility by revenue, by sales numbers, or by past startups that you've done, past jobs that you've done, something that tells me that you're credible enough for me to get in this with you. Today, I believe I have credibility at least around my circuit, around my startup ecosystem. So I don't really face that problem anymore. But yes, that was a very common problem since until my first startup got acquired.
Okay. And moving apart from that thing, how do you see change in yourself and people around you? When you just start something new, when you have nothing in your pocket, when you're empty. There are people who are making joke. There are people who are making fun. There are even people who praise you, help you, and there are every kind of people because we are
Yeah.
human. We There are some who love to help you. There are some who love to make fun of you also. So what has changed from that point when you started and now where you have reached? What has become different?
Okay, so in terms of people who are in the startup ecosystem and my employees around me and people who know this industry in and out, people who do know some things about startup, basically people who are under 30, 35,
Hmm.
it's very different now. Until then, they were like, okay, bacha hai, theek hai, koi
Yeah.
nahi. He's trying to play, let him play. Today, it's like, okay, he's on to some serious shit. That's just one change that has occurred, and that's very common. I don't object on that. That's even if I believe if I would have been in that place where I started my career at 30 and I have been successful in 10, 15 years. I'm 45-year-old. If I even say see a 14-year-old, I will most probably do the same.
Mm.
So, but again, if that 14-year-old comes back to me in 2 years with credibility, of course I would change.
Yeah.
That's that has drastically changed. But if I talk about people who are above 35, basically kind of relatives and friends of friends and family of my friends, it's kind of the same. You'll fail, you're not part of a school, you're never going to college, you might not even go to college without a degree. Things don't work like that. It's pretty much still the same. But I don't mind that. I don't believe it's an issue. It's just so fixed in their mind
Yeah.
from the times that they come.
Yeah.
And I believe we cannot change that, and it's a very long process to make that conversion
Hmm.
from that
Okay.
mentality to someone who thinks like today.
Okay, yeah, and but don't you think that mindset? You said it's going to take time, but don't you think if more and more people of your age, my age, come together, you know, I really feel that future is going to be ours. No age is going to be the quote which people say age is not, it's just a number. It's going to be really that in India, and in the future, I think we're going to see startup, owned by a child of, not I would not say a child, a person of 13 years, 14 years, 15 years. So don't you think then that time people could change their mindsets? Do you think can we see a mindset change, and how they think, what they think could be different at that moment?
For sure, anything that takes place at scale
Hmm.
does uh, like the consequence of that is change, is mass change.
Okay.
But I believe for something like that to happen on scale, the government has to be involved because basically some authority has to be involved that parents listen to because parents still have authority over their kids today.
Yeah.
I the the basic problem that I see even with students at teen high is I talk a lot to their parents because I have to. When they come up to me and they're like, I want to freelance, I have to go to the parents and talk that, okay, see, I did this and I still got enough marks to pass. Let him do that. So that's a process again. There's either an example that they see, of course, as examples increase, their sense of security also increases
Hmm.
in this particular zone.
Yeah,
But I
interesting.
believe if we have to bring a mass, like a change at scale, and it has to be quick enough, then I believe the only institution that can do that is school.
Hmm.
But I also believe where I am in talks with a lot of authorities at CBSE and ICSE, I know that change is like that change is not going to come very soon.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But I also believe the way where my peers are moving, other entrepreneurs that I know are moving, that have children my age. I've seen a lot of them homeschooling their own kids. That's where the change can also be. If more parents start homeschooling their kid and teaching them things that are really needed, that can be better because it has to come from a figure of authority. If it's either the government, which is basically school, or if it's either the parents. Because for a kid to it's I believe I still had some kind of privilege attached to me for me to explore and understand that a world like this is still possible. Plus,
Okay.
I had the privilege of being lonely, so that's why the thought came into my mind that okay, maybe school's not working out.
Hmm.
Not everyone has that privilege of being lonely and thinking about these things.
Yeah. True.
So situations matter a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, for a kid to get these thoughts by himself or herself might it's still a problem.
Hmm.
A better thing, a better uh, rapid change would be if parents change their mindset or uh, a figure of authority like school or colleges take that action.
Okay. Okay.
But I see,
Okay.
but I do see parents changing very fast, and that is happening in at a good speed.
Okay. Okay. And did you face that situation also where some of your old friends parents were like, okay, हम मेरे बच्चे से दूर दे तो उसको भी बिगाड़ देगा, and तेरी
Yeah.
तेरा काला जादू लग जाएगा, and that all shit happening with you also?
So not to that extent, but yeah, that did happen. That parents of my teenage friends that were there at that point, or my kid friends, uh, parents did even my relatives, not just parents. They were like, okay, you have left school, just don't necessarily need to tell my kids that.
Yeah.
So that was a common thing. That was a common thing. But again, I don't object at them. That's very normal.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, well, of course, it's the way they are brought up and the way they
12,
grow.
12 or 13-year-old Ojas would have been triggered, but today I understand the point of view that they are coming from,
Yeah.
because I had to do a lot of research for my book as well, and I had to I was writing that for a good 1.5 years, so I had to do a lot of research of, because I didn't want that book to be biased.
Mm.
For that, I wanted to think from a parent's point of view.
Okay. Okay. And this I just wanted to ask about where do you where do you see change in yourself? What did Ojas of 14-year had, and what age Ojas of 16 has? The language, to be truthful, the
Yeah,
way you speak, the way you are, it feels, I have done more than, I think, more than 20 to 30 interviews with entrepreneurs.
yeah,
The way of language you use, the way you speak, the way you are, it's really entrepreneur. I don't feel I'm speaking to a person who's just 16 or just any kind of age number. I just feel I'm
yeah.
speaking with entrepreneur who's achieved wonderful things and is at a very very good place. It's not, I just really mean it. And I just want to ask you, how do you see that there is a personal change, and what has changed in yourself?
Okay, so I believe, uh, I don't know about the future, but till this point, I have grown at least twice every year. I double the ability of and the intellectuality every year. Because if the 10-year-old just went out with the mission of learning 3D and VFX and game development and getting a bachelor's in game development, then a master's, then a PhD, and becoming the best game developer in the world, that's what. And I don't object on that, because kids are meant to have dreams.
Mm,
Some kids have dreams of becoming an astronaut. Some
yeah.
kids, like me, have dreams of becoming a PhD in game development. But again, the major change that I see, and I also teach and preach, is that of course dreams are good, but understanding of reality is something that really plays a role.
Mm,
That's one aspect of life that I discovered. So the major change that came in my life was between 10 and 12, was
okay.
between when I was 12, 10 and 12, because that was the time of change where when I was not when I didn't have like acceptance of change.
Mm,
I
mm,
never expected that okay, these changes are going to come my way.
mm, mm.
One of them was also failures, acceptance of failures. Today I accept failures. I know failures are building blocks of life.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how things work. If
yeah.
failures don't happen, you won't really learn things. That's something which is very important. But again, when the 10-year-old Ojas failed after doing 1 year of game development and understanding that, okay, now I don't like it, I want to leave,
Mm,
that was considered as a failure.
mm,
But the other 20 skills that I experimented with, that was not considered as a failure, because then I got the understanding of what failure is and what does it mean.
yeah.
So there were a lot of aspects of change that were present, and I look forward to more changes happening in myself, because as much as I grow in maturity and intellectuality, still from a biological point of view, I'm growing, and that would affect other aspects as well.
Okay, okay. And what you see, what you expect and what you see could be possible things which could be there, and what you expect for the future of yourself in professional and personal life.
So personal life, I don't really know. I just I just believe I am with family, and I just want to continue like that.
Yeah.
But from a professional perspective, I in the next 10 years I do see myself with more exits. I have taken one exit already from a startup. I see myself with more successful exits and multiple investments in my portfolio as well.
Okay, interesting, interesting. And what do you
But I
what do
still
you
see myself as an entrepreneur. I don't see myself as doing some anything else.
Okay, okay. And where do you see this future of, because you are surrounded by people, as you work, you're surrounded by people who, speak about, think about these things. So where do you
Yeah.
see the future of online education going? Where you think it could go? Time is unpredictable. What was there last 6 7 months, it's not going to be the same next 6 7 months. there could be another virus, there could
Yeah,
be another thing which could change whole thing. um which of course nobody hopes that there is another virus there. But
yeah.
where do you see where things could change, and how different can online education become, and how much could it be the need of the time?
So, answering your last question first, online education is the need. That's something that is there for sure. Because we have generated acceptance of being lonely, first of all. And we
Okay.
have generated acceptance of being surrounded digitally and not
Mm.
physically.
Mm.
For example, I rarely would meet my friends. I would just look at their images on Instagram and I would know where they are. And I'm good with that. I'm fine with that. And I'm not alone with that. We have to also generate acceptance for breaking the boundary with learning, because that's not only going to increase the opportunities and increase the aspects of learning, it's also going to support, I believe, pre-recorded learning
Mm.
is something which is really needed.
Okay.
But one major thing that it misses is accountability.
Okay.
That's why tuition teachers are hired in school as well, because these tuition teachers give students accountability that, okay, this is a chapter, you have to get it done by next week. If you don't, I'll call your parents.
Yeah.
That's accountability.
Mm.
That's telling them, that's giving them a deadline, and that's basically fighting their procrastination. But I believe students have to develop the ability to fight procrastination on their own without anyone else's support.
Okay.
That's the only way for online education to seriously work. Other than, if that doesn't take place, then any form of online education is just waste. Because
Okay.
then if there's no accountability involved, they would never really be serious about it. And
Mm.
that can be seen today with school classes going online. Accountability has seriously gone down. So I do see online learning as the future,
Okay.
but without the acceptance of it by the masses, it won't work.
Mm. 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 Interesting. True. And what could be what's you at a personal level, uh, not a professional level, as a company you see there to be change, like how do you think you would wish your company to look like in next 5 years or 10 years?
I have a goal that in the next 5 years, we at least change, we at least have 10,000 teenagers to level 2,
Okay.
so that we can. I believe that the process of TNIV is a life-changing process for a lot of our students, and we have already had more than 100 students, and that's what every student tells us, that it has been a life-changing process, and their parents also see that change in a longer period of time. So that's where my macro goals are.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. And you were speaking about loneliness and being lonely and all those things. uh do how then how do you make yourself busy into work and into all your maybe whatever extra things? How do you make yourself busy? And what would be your anybody to if anybody wishes to become an entrepreneur, what would be your advices to them, and advices of books and movies to watch which could help them create and get that inspiration out of them?
Okay, so what was your first question again? If you can just repeat that.
Okay, yeah. So it was about creating. What would be your advice to entrepreneurs? That was my first question.
Okay. My basic advice to entrepreneurs in terms of loneliness as well, that's something that you mentioned
Yeah,
with reference
yeah,
to that
yeah.
question, would be prepare for it. It's something that comes in your life and it's here to stay, at least for a longer period. Like, you do have friends, but don't expect 4 a.m. friends.
Hmm.
Don't think that if you're crying at 4 a.m., so you can call another entrepreneur in the circuit, because that's not how things work. And I agree with that. I don't want things to work that way, because if everyone's busy enough, you won't really have those times. So, like, I would seriously prefer, if I can, If I have a friend that I can call at 4 p.m. to push my company's portfolio in front of an investor, and not have a friend to call at 4 a.m. and cry with. So, of course, loneliness is something that has to be accepted as a fact for an entrepreneur. Plus, one thing that I mention again and again and again is that it looks cool, it looks jazzy, it looks bougie, it looks Gucci, all those words from a distance. But at the end, it's a lot of work because
Mm,
you're not just responsible for yourself. You're responsible for the employees that are under you. You're responsible for your parents' dreams. You're responsible because your parents expect less. You're basically not just your parents. Your peers expect less from you when you have not done anything. Once you have reached a milestone, their expectations go up, and
mm,
carrying that on yourself plus carrying your employees' expectations as well, because they are looking forward. They are working on your vision and working on your mission with your path. If
mm,
that vision and mission goes to a wrong side, it's not just you who's going to go there. You'll be
mm.
carrying what 5, 10, 50 employees with you.
Yeah, yeah,
So bottom line is entrepreneurship is not easy. It's not a fun or a cool thing. But
yeah.
yes, if you're passionate about making a change while making a lot of money and getting shit done, of course it's for you.
Yeah, yeah. And the first question, just got confused. The first question was about you were speaking about loneliness, and how do you think Ojas of 16 helps himself into work and into reading, into watching things and doing things.
I'm just kind of used to it now. I am occupied with work almost all the time. I have even after this podcast episode, I have an Instagram live schedule, then two meetings after that as well. So because it's not just one startup that I run. I
Mm,
have three very active startups plus a marketing agency plus two in ideation. So I'm occupied from all aspects. Plus I'm also getting into content creation. So that's also an aspect that's coming into my life. Plus my book just got over. Before that, my book was also taking a lot of time, a lot of my time. Plus I still go, I still don't go to school, but I have to give my exams. So that's still an aspect in my life. Studies is still not 100% left my life. So with all that happening simultaneously, you don't really get the time to think like that. Now
mm,
this might not be the right politically correct answer, but that's what is right for me. I don't really get the time to think, okay, am I lonely, are things
mm.
going, it self doubt is of course there.
Okay.
Whenever I am sitting and I'm free, the first thought that is in my mind is, am I doing the right thing? Is Does what Teen Hive stand for, what Scale Hive stands for, what my marketing consultations, the brands that I work with, the brands that Adventures is connected with, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right path? Is this the right path? And do I really want to do this for the next 10, 20, 40 years of my life? Of course, self doubt is there. But I believe self doubt is a good thing. I
Okay.
have really used it as a power instead of something that brings me down. Because whenever I get self doubt, I just try to write down all my thoughts and then go through them. And the thing that I find out is that every thought that I have in mind related to self doubt is somewhere within within self doubt of on myself and not my ideologies.
Mm-hmm.
Then at that point, the only thing that you can do is trust yourself,
Yeah.
and that's what I do.
Okay. Okay. Okay, great. And I was asking about if you read or if you're interested in watching movies.
I do.
So what would be your five top uh recommendations to anybody which could help them or inspire them become an entrepreneur, or maybe anything else also. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I majorly read books. I read a lot of books. At till not this year, but in 2018 and in 2019, I was following the aspect of one book a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I did read 52 books in 2019 as well. So I do read a lot. I try to read as much as possible because I believe it just gives you a lot of perspective, and uh, you are able to identify different points in life where you might not be able to just by working all the time. So five books that I would really recommend for someone who's just starting out at the first stage of their life would first major book that I really love till date is Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's an amazing book.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not read it, do. The second book which I really like, so these are two books by the same author, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari and 5 Club.
Okay. Okay.
Another book that I really like is Peter Thiel's book. I don't remember the name, but yeah,
Okay.
Peter Thiel's book is a very good book. And uh, the 4 hour work week, I think it's 4 hour. I think it's the 4 hour work week. So
Okay. I
that's
have.
also a very good book.
Okay. Okay. And any specific movies or something as such?
So I do like to watch movies about startups and these stories. So basically, kind of biographies, autobiographies, and biographies about entrepreneurs. So I really love the movies about Steve Jobs. I think there are two or three, and the social the social network is a very good movie. Yeah, those are what's on the top of my mind. I
Okay.
consider The Wolf of Wall Street a very good movie.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
maybe that.
Okay. Okay. Great. Yeah. So before ending up this session, would you like to leave any kind of message, or would you like to speak about something, add upon something more, or discuss about something more? You can go ahead and do it now.
I would just say something as an ending note. I believe most of your audience is around the student range, college,
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The only message for you is focus on starting, not where to start and how to start.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Interesting.
Starting is what's important.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree upon that. So it was wonderful having you. Really, really, really wonderful. I enjoyed it. I was like,
Same
just
here, buddy.
go on speaking, but time has its own limits, and we can't, win the time, of course. So thank you very much. It was wonderful having you. Really, really inspired by your story. Really wonderful the way you are at a very certain age. The way you do, you have so much of things to work upon, and so much of enterprises, so much of ideas. It's great. It's wonderful. Thank you very much for being here. It was my pleasure. Hope you all the goodness
Thank
and
you.
success. It was great. Thank you very much.